Did you know that the average person has thousands of thoughts every single day? But for some of us, just one of those thoughts can swoop in and completely hijack the brain. Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we are diving into the truly fascinating psychology of obsession. We're going to trace the path from those normal, everyday worries we all have, straight through to conditions that might need a bit of clinical support. It's a really interesting journey into understanding exactly how our brains can sometimes just get stuck on a single track.
To kick things off, I want you to think about this. Have you ever checked a lock twice, or maybe spent an hour replaying a totally minor conversation in your head? We've all been there, right? I want you to know that this kind of behavior is completely normal. It's just human nature to want to be careful. But for the sake of our mental well-being, we really need to understand when that healthy, cautious focus crosses the line and turns into a heavy mental burden.
So here's our roadmap for today's explainer. Number 1. What is an obsession? 2. Types of obsessions. 3. Recognizing over-obsessive habits. 4. The impact on mental health. 5. Identifying obsessive personalities. And 6. Coping strategies and support.
Okay, let's jump into section 1. What is an obsession? We'll be moving from normal concerns to clinical definitions.
So, the absolute keyword to focus on here is involuntary. Think of an obsession kind of like a pop-up ad in your brain that you literally cannot close. Unlike a tough project at work that you actively choose to focus on, a true obsession is an intrusive thought. It pops into your mind entirely uninvited, it's recurring, it's persistent, and because it is so incredibly difficult to control, it can just completely drain your mental energy.
And that brings us to the second half of the puzzle, compulsion. If an obsession is the uninvited thought, a compulsion is your brain's somewhat misguided attempt to hit the mute button. These are the repeated actions, the rituals, or specific behaviors people use to get just a fleeting sense of relief from those relentless thoughts. It's an action taken to quiet the mind. But the catch? That relief is only temporary.
Moving right along to section 2, 5 types of obsessions and how intrusive thoughts manifest in daily life.
You know, obsessions really don't look the same for everyone. They are deeply tied to our individual personalities and past experiences. Some folks fixate on safety, like constantly checking doors. Others deal with relationship obsessions, seeking unending reassurance because they fear rejection. We also see health anxiety, passion-driven obsessions where a fun hobby suddenly turns into a restless chore, and of course, paralyzing perfectionism. The real dividing line here is self-control. A healthy passion only becomes an unhealthy obsession when it turns repetitive, anxiety-driven, and completely intrusive.
Let's transition into section 3, recognizing over-obsessive habits. This is about when overthinking shifts from helpful to harmful.
So what are the red flags we should be looking out for? Well, you might notice constant worrying about scenarios that will probably never happen, or an exhausting need for validation just to make sure someone isn't secretly mad at you. Another massive warning sign is the inability to drop thoughts, just endless mental replays. Psychology actually tells us that these behaviors are flawed attempts by our brains to manage uncertainty. We think we're fixing the problem, but we're really just piling on more stress and mental exhaustion.
Which brings us to section 4, impact on mental health. We're looking at the toll of unchecked intrusive thoughts.
This is absolutely crucial to understand. The real danger of a never-ending obsession is that it literally distorts your reality. When your mind gets stuck in this continuous loop, it totally loses perspective. It blows tiny problems up into massive, unreal threats. Like you might stay up until 3 a.m. fixing a microscopic detail on a work presentation, genuinely convinced that if it isn't completely flawless, the consequences will be catastrophic.
When positive fixations go sour, they stop leading to growth and start causing deep distress. Over time, someone might start dodging commitments just to fuel their obsession, like obsessively counting social media likes to gauge their self-worth. Left unchecked, this snowball effect leads to chronic stress, sleep disorders, and severe mood swings. It strains relationships with the people you love. Ultimately, it can manifest as severe clinical conditions like OCD or major depression.
All right, section 5, identifying obsessive personalities. We'll explore the spectrum of control, perfectionism, and rigidity.
Now, this is a massive point of confusion in mental health, so let's clear it up. Obsessive-compulsive disorder, or OCD, targets very specific fears, like contamination, and the specific compulsions used to relieve that fear. But OCPD, obsessive-compulsive personality disorder, is a totally different ballgame. It's an overarching pattern of rigid thinking across a person's entire life. They have an intense need for control. And here is the kicker. Someone with OCPD often doesn't even see their behavior as a problem. They're usually proud of being so organized and only feel distressed when their incredibly high standards aren't met.
Finally, let's look at Section 6, Coping Strategies and Support. These are actionable steps to reclaim your peace of mind.
The good news? An unhealthy obsession is absolutely not a life sentence. Dealing with obsession isn't about trying to completely block all thoughts out, which is impossible, by the way. It's about managing them so they don't run your life. You can make a massive difference with a few key steps. Start with mindfulness, just observing your thoughts without judging yourself. Build basic routines for sleep and exercise. Carve out time for hobbies that actually make you happy. Lean on your friends, and don't hesitate to use therapy to replace those reality-distorting beliefs.
And look, you really don't have to navigate this alone. When obsessive thoughts start interfering with your daily life, seeking a professional psychiatric evaluation is a huge, vital step. Clinics like Mid-City Psychiatry can provide customized care plans. Depending on what you need, this might involve targeted therapy, medication, or a combination of both to safely transform those excessive compulsions back into manageable, everyday thoughts.
So, I want to leave you with this final, incredibly important question to chew on. Are your daily routines and thoughts serving your peace of mind, or are they quietly starting to control it? Taking just a moment to honestly evaluate your own habits is the most powerful first step you can take toward a healthier, far more balanced mind. Thanks for joining me to unpack this fascinating topic today.